Thank you. We are so wonderfully excited to be a part of this. What a great day. This is fantastic. We had a wonderful afternoon yesterday. Today is going to be even better, and we are excited about God's wonderful blessings on this opportunity. Now, before I do anything else, I have a great privilege. I'm going to introduce my wife, Amy, who's going to give you a wonderful, warm, excited, energetic hello. So, Amy, are you ready to do that? You're set. All right, here's Amy.
Thank you, honey. We are so excited about being with you. We've been counting the days, and thank you so much for all the cards you sent. And a number of you told me that you were filling up the sweet Charlies, and thank you for that. I've been doing my best to sample everything I could. I think I've gone through 4 or 5 different cakes, and I had a souffle, a lemon souffle with all types of ice cream on the side of it. I've tried all types of candy, so I'm doing my best, okay? I'll keep working at it. So thank you for having all this ready for us. We are having a wonderful time. And you know what? I am so proud of you for being here, and I know that you've come with dreams in your heart, and this is the business inside your hands. If you look at your hands right now, you are holding the greatest future inside these hands because you've got a vehicle that your dreams can come true with. When Ron and I got married, we've been married 20 years, almost 21. When we got married, I was so in love with him. You know, he was my dream, and you know, I just fell madly, totally in love with him. And he told me that he had a dream that he wanted to be a public speaker. So that became my dream for us. And so we started speaking, and we started doing everything we could. And if you called us and asked us to come speak, it didn't matter where you were, where the meeting was at. We would go speak. All we asked is that you'd feed us. You know, feeding has always been important to us. And so we would go and they'd feed us, but they might not give us anything else. And we'd drive back home, and we were in school, and we were just driving. You know, we were like you. We'd drive all night, be at our place, speak, then drive back the rest of the night. You know, you learn how to do without any sleep. The only people we saw on the roads were distributors and ourselves. We just didn't know everybody else was a distributor. We would have stopped them and said, hello, and we would have said, sponsor us, but we didn't know that much then. And so we were building our business as we saw it, and we'd ask people, now what do we need to do to see our dreams come true? We'd ask professors, because we were in school, and they told us, well, you need to go to school more. So we would go to school more. Ron finished college, went on for his master's, went on to work on his PhD. We were going to school, and so we were speaking and schooling. And so all this time we were doing this, and then we'd look at our checking and our bank account, and it would be almost zero or minus zero, because they gave me one of those little plastic cards. I don't know if you have these little plastic cards over here. I'm sure you do. But I would go to the store, and they were so wonderful to me. They'd give me anything I wanted if I gave them this plastic card. And so I was just having a great time until the end of the month, and then Ron would get upset with me. And so I couldn't understand this, but it happened every month. Well, anyway, we were doing all this. We were working, we were speaking, but we had no money. So we went and we asked some other people we respected and said, what do we do? We have this dream to be a public speaker, but we also like to eat, and we'd like to have a house over our heads, all this stuff. And they said, well, you need to work harder. Well, I thought we were working hard. I mean, we were going to school, we were speaking. So Ron got a job. Do you remember this? You got a job painting too. So he could do that between like 6 and 8 in the morning, so that if he didn't sleep at all the night before, he could come in from speaking, go paint for 2 hours, go to school, and then we could go speak. So we thought we were working hard, doing all these things. And then, after a while, if you've been married a while, sometimes God gives you a blessing. Well, we had a blessing, and little Allison came into our life. And then Allison wanted diapers, and she also wanted to eat. And we realized that you need to do that too once God gives you this little blessing. So, oh boy, I started praying, thought, Lord, you've got to help us. We've got this baby. I don't want him to starve right within my own eyes. I want to feed this baby. So I was praying and praying, and somebody gave me one of those little networking tapes. It said Amway on it, this little word there. And I didn't really know much about it, so I stuck it in the tape recorder and I started playing it. And they said, are you making all the money you want to make? I said, no. Do you have dreams? I said, yes. They said, what would you do if you had all the money that you wanted and you could see your dreams come true? I thought, what would I do? I'd clear Allison's toys out of the front room and put them in another room. I'd have actually 2 rooms. This was exciting to me. So I started dreaming about this. And someone gave me a second tape, and I put that in. Well, I was getting so excited. I thought there were only 2 networking tapes in the universe. So I guarded these, Here I am. I'm just hungry and thirsty, and we're still broke. And then, but we were good. Ron was speaking, and people were still asking us to speak. But that little card always got me in trouble that I took to stores because I didn't have any sense on managing life principles, And so we went, and somebody asked us to come speak to one of these networking seminars like this. It wasn't this big, but it was like this. And they called us out on stage, and people clapped for us. I mean, we've been speaking to people, and they would give us little tiny claps. But these were people that were yelling and really screaming. They stood on their feet. And, this was exciting. And Ron turned to me and he said, "This is just like one of the tapes." Well, when we walked down on stage that first time, our hearts were captured. You all just took a hold of us. And, I think of so many speakers that come onto this stage that aren't in the business, that you do that to them too. They just know this is a different group than we've ever spoken to before. They know you've got dreams. They know you've got a future. And they can see it in your eyes because, your eyes just kind of sparkle. Even in the dark, you can see, how you see a cat in the dark and you can see those little green. Well, your eyes just sparkle like that too. And I'm so excited because at that point we start to dream and start to have a vehicle to see our dreams come true. Because through this business, we learn principles about life. We met Dexter Yeager. He taught us how to handle our money. That I wasn't supposed to go to the shop every time we got a little notice that said SALE. I did not have to go to the store to make them feel good. So I learned all these things. And so I am so excited. But not only did those things did I learn, but our dreams have come true. This September and October, we are doing 9 free enterprises all over the world. And we're seeing people, we're just having the greatest time. We're eating great. We're staying in the neatest places. Our little girl is with us. I mean, she feels as comfortable in England as she does in her little hometown of Prestonsburg. And she has family. She thinks of you all as her family. She feels closer to you. If you're in the business with her, she just thinks, well, you must be my aunt and uncle. And we've just got the biggest family. When we were speaking for other businesses, we'd go in and we'd speak and we'd love them. But there's nothing like this family. This is just one of a kind. So I am so excited because you've got the greatest future ahead of you, and you've got it right in your hands, and you've got your dreams in your heart. And I can't wait because your numbers have grown so much since we were here last time. I can't wait to see what, like in 2 years, they're going to have to clear out all of downtown London and put a tent over the whole London and just say, "Come on in, we're having free enterprise." I'm so proud of you because you're the people that are making it come true. You're doing it, and I just can see it in your eyes as they're sparkling. It's going to come true. Now, Ron's got 1,000,000 points to give you, at least 35, okay? Now, you can tell why I got in trouble with banking. Okay, so get your pens out and your papers out because he has so much to tell you, and this is important stuff. This is going to make a difference for your future, and I can't wait. Come and tell me when you see me. Tell me what your dreams are. Tell me what's happening, and we love you so much. I go back and I tell Ron and I tell Allison. I get so excited. I get charged up with you. So this is great. Now listen to everything he's going to say. Honey, they're ready. Thank you. Love you.
You see, I get to wake up with that every morning. It's wonderful. It's great. Amy motivates me, excites me. After she finished speaking yesterday, someone asked me how I enjoyed her introducing what I do. I said it's fantastic because what an icebreaker. It makes it easy for me once she has shared her heart and her enthusiasm, her excitement. And she genuinely loves all of you and the network, the business, all these organizations. What a great blessing we experience every single day. Now, we're here because we're excited about your growth and your opportunity for success. This is wonderful. So we're going to have a great day today. And I have something very special to cover today. I gave some of this material yesterday. The response was incredible. And I'm looking forward to giving you some similar material today on an extremely important topic. Several months ago, Dexter asked me to speak to what he calls May rallies. These are spring meetings that he has, obviously, in the month of May, and it involves tens of thousands of people. And he asked me to come in and do a special presentation. I spoke it twice at each location, and as I was organizing what I was going to do, I called Dexter on the phone and said, "Dex, I really believe here is the subject I need to cover. but it sounds a bit negative in the beginning. Should I do it? And when I told Dexter the nature of the topic, his response was immediate. He said, Ron, are you kidding? This is something everybody needs help with. So I'm going to repeat some of that seminar for you this afternoon because I believe, as Dexter told me on that occasion, this is a subject that everybody needs help with. What I'm dealing with this afternoon is very simple and basic. I'm going to deal with the topic of rejection. How do you handle rejection from other people? When people tell you no, when they don't want anything to do with you or your business, how do you handle that? How do you overcome negative obstacles? How do you leap over that barricade and move into a greater future? How do you keep negative rejection from entering your system, taking root, and spoiling and ruining your future? So this is the topic for today. It is of major importance because this is something at one point everyone handles or faces. How do you handle rejection and how do you overcome it? Now, I want to begin by giving you a few stories to set the tone and introduce what I'm going to do. And I'll give you an overview quickly of where we're going from there. I'm going to give you 7 basic reasons why people reject you at times. And then I'll give you 7 further reasons why you find rejection so difficult to take, why you hate rejection so much. And then I'll move from there to 9 wrong responses to rejection. There are 9 ways that you find it easy to respond, but don't do it. You'll find what those are in a few minutes. And then I will conclude with 7 right responses to rejection, 7 positives that will overcome the negatives. So where are we going? 7 reasons why people reject you, 7 reasons why you hate it, 9 wrong ways to respond to that rejection, and 7 ways to respond correctly. Now let me begin by giving you the collection of stories that I told you I would do a moment ago. A few months ago, Amy and Allison and I were speaking at rallies and functions in Australia. We had meetings in Melbourne and over in Brisbane and the Gold Coast, up in Cairns and the tropics, and we were having a fantastic tour of Australia. While we were there, it was beautiful weather. It was our winter in the United States, but it was their summer. And while we were there, we had a tremendous response, particularly in the city of Melbourne. And after we finished this one series of rallies, the response was awesome. After we finished, one of the Emerald Directs came to me that Sunday evening and said, tomorrow, we have wonderful plans for you. We have an excursion organized, and we want to invite all 3 of you. You're going to have the best time of your life. And so we said, we're ready, we're eager, let's go. So early the next morning, it wasn't too terribly early because these were, after all, diamonds and emeralds, but relatively early the next morning, they picked us up at our hotel in Melbourne, and we drove about an hour, hour and a half into Victoria National Park in southern Australia. They said, you're going to take a ride such as you've never had in your life. You're going to ride on a steam train. And they gave us a description, an old steam train. It's called Puffin Billy, and it's 100 years old. It's been a continuous operation all this time, and they said, now the exciting thing about Puffin Billy is the terrain through which you'll travel. You will go up this steep incline, and on the side will be straight drops of 600 and 800 feet. As you get higher and higher, the chasms will be deeper to 1,000, 1,200 feet, until finally you will reach the summit, the peak, the top, and the vista will be unbelievable, and you'll have one of the great rides of your life. So we were ready. We got on the train. Allison and some of her little Australian networking friends got on the train with us. And what they didn't tell us originally is that this is an open-sided train. All you do is kind of hang on. And so here's Allison dangling her legs out over this 800-foot drop, and she's having the greatest time. She doesn't care that it's highly dangerous. It's just adventure to her. So we hang on to the train, and the train began to live up to its name. It would puff and puff and puff, Puffin Billy. And the steam would pour out, and the train would lurch forward and surge. It would slow down, surge again. And finally, as we reached the upper levels of the mountain, we were almost 7,000 feet above sea level with this train straining for the top. I thought of an old nursery rhyme story that I had as a child. An old story about a little engine that could. I don't know if you even had that over here. But this nursery rhyme, children's story about a train that believed in itself went like this. The little engine said, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. And the little train would try harder and try harder and try harder until finally the train did reach the top in the story. So I'm thinking of the nursery rhyme, and I'm thinking we're going to make it. We think we can. We think we can. And finally we reached the top, and everything they predicted was true. The view was unbelievable. But what does it have to do with rejection, negative, positive, business success? What does that have to do with this afternoon? As we were nearing the summit of that mountain, and I remembered the story of the little engine that could, I think I can. As I rode puffin' Billy to the top, I thought of all the distributors I have the privilege to speak to all over the world in conventions in every country where Amway has a presence. And I thought of all the hunger and eagerness you bring to a function, that you want success, sometimes desperately. And there are some things that, if you're not careful, can derail your train. There are some things that can wreck your future. And one of them is the insidious poison of rejection. If you allow people's rejection to get to you, if you allow rejection to clutch at your throat and poison your spirit, it will ruin your future. One thing that can stop your train from reaching the top is the personal experience of rejection. Now, when you look at the topic of rejection, in all honesty, rejection can be humorous or it can be serious. I've had both experiences. Once when I was a child, 8 or 9 years of age, I remember my dad came home and he brought me a musical instrument, a cornet, like a small version of a trumpet. And he said, "Ron, I want you to learn to play this. And I've arranged lessons with an instructor after school, and you're going to learn to play." Well, I was not very eager because I wasn't that musically interested, but I wanted to please my dad, and I said, "All right, I'll be happy to try to learn." So I went for my first lesson. I tried so hard. For a week and 2 weeks, I put great energy and commitment into trying to learn how to play this instrument. The teacher was excellent, and he began to teach us sight reading and musical notes, and began to test our ability and try to help us and encourage us. At the end of 4 weeks of discipline and training and practice, I went for my lesson as usual, and the instructor met me after class and said, "Ron, would you stay for a moment?" Of course. And everyone else was beginning to leave. They were gathering up all their instruments and their little papers, and the instructor looked at me, and he was towered over me. I'm only 8 or 9 years of age. And he said, "Ron," he said, "I want to say something, and I want you to listen to me." And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Ron, some people have no musical aptitude." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Now, Ron, listen. Some people have no musical ability." "Thank you." "Yes, sir. Some people, Ron, have no musical ability at all." And I smiled and said, "Well, thank you very much. Can I go now?" And I remember he got down on his knees in front of me and looked me in the face and said, "Ron, you have no musical ability. None." He said, "I can't help you. I can't teach you. You have no musical ability." Now, he's right. He told the truth. And although I was somewhat relieved because there were other things I wanted to do, I didn't want to learn to play the cornet, at the same time, I still remember the sting of rejection. And all the other kids became very quiet, and they closed up their instrument books, and they looked at me, and I walked out all alone, realizing that here was someone telling me here was something I could not ever do. Now, again, it wasn't a great disappointment. It wasn't an enormous trauma, because I really wasn't that excited about it anyway. But that is just a brief sense of what it means to be rejected. When someone tells you this will not work for you. Now, how do you react to that? How do you respond? What about the business? What about the business in general? I have had some experiences with people who've rejected me because of my involvement in this organization, in this network. Now, let me warn you. Although I am taking the risk, and I use that word deliberately, although I am taking the risk of being somewhat negative and telling you these stories, I don't want you to misunderstand. For every one person I encounter who is negative about this business, I encounter 10 to 20 who are enormously positive. For every one person I get who rejects me, I get 10 who think it's great, because we are riding the wave of the business of the future. This is the business of the 21st century. But occasionally, listen carefully, occasionally you get those people who still kick you in the stomach and reject what you do and reject your dream and reject who you are because you want to build your own success. You have a dream. I had a man who did this to me shortly after I began speaking for Dexter and the Diamonds. I had owned a research corporation in Atlanta, Georgia for a number of years, and Dexter and the Diamonds originally hired me to do research projects and come and speak to their conventions. And then I got smart, got in the business myself after that. But when all this was developing, one of our major supporters of our organization, who had contributed just that year $50,000 to our support, and we were a small organization, this was a large sum of money to us. One of these men came and said, I don't believe in what you're doing. I don't want you to work with Dexter Yeager. I don't want you to be in this organization. And if you don't quit, I am. I'll take all my money, all my support, and I'm gone. And I told the man, I have to do this. I believe in these people. It is right. I believe God has led me to work with them. I think it's great. I believe in it. And so he did what he threatened. He took his money, he pulled all of it out, and he walked out on our organization. A week or two later, I was scheduled to speak for one of Dexter's free enterprises. And I was sitting behind the Charlotte Coliseum in a car with Dexter Yeager. And I said, Dex, this is what happened to me last week. And Dexter said, what's your decision? What are you going to do? I said, Dex, I can't stop. I can't quit. This organization is fantastic. I believe in you. I believe in what you're doing. I believe in the business. I won't back down from my belief in what you're doing. And Dexter looked at me. Dexter looked at me, and this was what clinched it for me. Dexter Yeager looked at me and said, Ron, always remember this. You can afford to lose $50,000. You cannot afford to lose your dream. That is irreplaceable.